One of the biggest lies that modern culture teaches you is that you need to feel inspired before you act. But Jeremiah 17:9 teaches us otherwise by talking about how the heart is deceitful and unreliable as a foundation for decision making. And human nature craves the feeling of reward before the process that earns it. And that's why people feel motivated in the beginning. They make new goals after watching someone else succeed, after a breakup, after someone tells them they need to change. And then they'll go hard for the first couple days. Yes, I'm in the gym. I'm doing what I set my goals out to be. First 2 days are great. They're amazing. I stick to my diet, everything like that. But once they realize that there hasn't been a reward yet, and they're only expending energy, they quit. When the emotion fades, the consistency fades along with it. But the problem is your journey is grounded in motivation or inspiration. And emotion cannot sustain a meaningful lifelong term. Motivation is emotional, discipline is directional. If feelings are your leader, your consistency collapses whenever emotions change. And emotions are the most unreliable thing. And that's why in Jeremiah 17:9, Jesus talks about how the heart is very unreliable. And that's where your emotions stem from. And so transformation never happens through excitement. It happens through repetition. And this is why the gym is so important for all believers. The gym becomes a mirror for their life. You'll be motivated at the start of the year or after someone tells you need to go to the gym. But discipline isn't revealed until you train on a stressful, boring, painful, or tired day. And because the days that are hardest to go to the gym, they become the training ground for the mind. Our mind naturally wants to conserve energy, naturally wants to avoid discomfort, because why would you want to just unnecessarily waste energy? Because you never know what's going to happen. You got to keep that going so then when something does happen that you need to use it, you're ready to use it. And why would you want to be uncomfortable? That doesn't make any sense. But while your mind is searching for that relief on being comfortable, on conserving energy, it's when you need to intentionally confront resistance instead of escaping it, because that's what changes you. When you intentionally go to the resistance and avoid comfort, that's when your mind changes. That's when your brain rewires and starts saying, okay, maybe discomfort's fine. Maybe it's okay to do that and it's okay to push back. So then when you're in moments that take discomfort, that you have to feel the resistance, you're emotionally controlled. You're able to do that. But if you've never trained your mind for that, when that moment happens, you're falling under all pressure. Under any pressure, you're falling. And so how do you expect God to give you a purpose? How do you expect God to convict you? How do you expect God to trust you with greater things if he can't even trust you with the first gift he gave you, which was your body? How can you expect God to give you his purpose if he doesn't think that any slight inconvenience, you're going to quit, you're going to give up? If your purpose, say, was to run a marathon, right? Because if you ran that marathon, you are going to promote all Christians to start running a marathon. And then not all the Christians are going to stand up and run a marathon. But if you get any sort of tired and you quit, your purpose is to failure. So why would God give you a purpose if he knows you're just going to quit right away when there's any slight inconvenience? If it just takes the enemy one distraction to stop you, why would he give you that purpose? And so the workout itself isn't the real training. Sometimes the real training is showing up when you're tired, finishing despite emotion, proving your feelings don't control your actions. And we're proving this to God, not just ourselves. Every time you act against comfort, your self-trust grows, right? If you know that if you're going to tell yourself you're going to go to the gym and you actually go to the gym, your self-trust grows, your confidence grows because you are doing what you set out to do. Now, if someone gave you a big task, you need to have the confidence to be able to do it. If you know, okay, I'm going to do this, then you're actually going to do it, then your confidence of being able to complete it is there. Now, if someone gave you something that you think is completely unrealistic, but the past 10 years, you've been doing everything that you said you would do, that you set out yourself to do, you're going to be able to complete that unrealistic thing. And it also grows your resilience. When someone pushes against you, you're able to push back. Nothing is going to stop you. The enemy can't stop you. And then your emotional control grows. If you have emotional control, you can stick to what you're trying to do without anything stopping you. And that's a huge mindset shift. And it also connects deeply to obedience. Because spiritually, obedience often happens when you don't feel like doing something. Prayer happens when distracted. Discipline happens when you're tired. Growth happens under resistance. And that's why the gym becomes symbolic. It trains I can act according to conviction instead of emotion. That's obedience. And that's why Jesus in Luke 22:42 overrides preference for the sake of obedience. Not my will, but yours be done, is what Jesus said. And so he's putting what he wants to a higher authority. It's not about what do I want, what do I feel like doing, but what does God want me to do? What is God telling me to do? And then going after that instead of your emotions. You need that authority to override your emotions. And don't get me wrong, motivation and inspiration are great things. They can help you start when you normally wouldn't. But it's not about removing feelings. It's about having something greater than them override their authority. Because by constantly obeying your feelings of tiredness, discouragement, fear, temptation, or comfort, eventually you begin serving them. Most people unknowingly serve comfort, emotion, impulse, pleasure, and even avoidance. But discipline means something higher governs your action, whether that's purpose, conviction, faith, responsibility, and your identity. Now ask yourself, what sits at the top of your life? Is it your emotion or your convictions? And of course, don't get me wrong, God gave us emotions for a reason. They're here to give us signals. Fear can signal danger. Discomfort can signal resistance. But maturity is understanding just because I feel something does not mean I must obey it. And that's why I so heavily promote the gym, because the gym trains I can acknowledge emotion without surrendering to it. Yes, I feel this way, but that's not going to change what I want to do, what I set out to do, right? And people who never learn that principle may spend their whole life avoiding responsibility, avoiding their purpose, discomfort, and eventually even what they were meant to become. But it also builds confidence and identity by doing what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. That's integrity within yourself. And if you can't trust yourself, how do you expect others to? How do you expect God to trust you with other gifts, with other things in life? How can you expect God to trust you with money if He can't take care of the first gift God gave you, the vessel, the temple of the Holy Spirit? If you can't take care of that, why would God give you anything else to try and take care of? And so that's where your confidence bleeds out. You know you can't trust yourself, and you know others can't trust you. And so now you have no confidence, because what are you even doing, right? You can't be confident in yourself if you know other people can't be confident in yourself. If you know you can't do what you set out to do. And so every time you break a promise to yourself, your brain notices. And it might not be conscious every time, but internally you do. And that's why people have self-doubt, guilt, weak confidence. All that is because you said something to do and you didn't do it. You have self-doubt and you now completing the next thing. And you now becoming successful in what you want to do because you weren't able to do it the last 100 times you told yourself you was going to do something else. And everything relays into each other. Just because you said you're going to go to the gym, but you didn't, that also adapts to, oh, I'm going to study for my test and I don't, right? They're the same exact thing, even though they're different things that have the same symbol. And so how are you supposed to believe in yourself if you can't do what you tell yourself you want to do? So ask yourself this: do you want your future self to reflect your current commitments or your current excuses? Every repeated action is shaping the future version of you. Identity isn't built day by day, it's built month by month, year by year. Fitness is one of the greatest mirrors to this. You don't become muscular by going to the gym a few days in a row or by going one day. You become transformed through years of consistency. And that's the same spiritually as well. Your relationship with God is not built in one emotional moment or by one interaction. It's built through years of intentional faithfulness. And that's how you build a relationship. But what most people fail to realize is that true discipline usually comes from a deeper source. Long-term discipline reveals your purpose, it reveals conviction, it reveals identity, and it reveals alignment. If you are disciplined in one thing, people are going to be like, how is he so disciplined? How is he so grounded? And it's going to point to something higher, and what we want is to point that to God. That's why God says, no matter what you, or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. Because what we want to do is what we want our lives to point back to God. If our lives aren't pointing back to God, what are we here for? What are we doing? We are not obeying God. We're not being convicted. We're not in alignment with what we're supposed to be doing. And that's why deeply disciplined people often seem grounded internally. Their actions are connected to something deeper, something bigger than temporary feelings. Think about monks, for example. They are internally so well. They're not like, oh, I wish I was out having fun. I wish I could go drink. I wish I could go do just a bunch of different things that aren't related to, being in monk mode. And they do that because internally they're grounded. They're happy where they are. They trust themselves. They know that if they want to do something, they're going to do it. If they say they're going to do something, they're also going to do it. They know that they can do whatever they put their mind to because they've done it in the past. They've done it for years, consistently, repetitively. And discipline of being able to do something repetitively is evidence of devotion to something else besides what your feelings are. And whatever a person consistently sacrifices for reveals what they truly value. And God has constantly told us to take care of the body. It's a temple. And so connect meaning to anything you do. Connect your training to stewardship, to responsibility, to faithfulness. If you don't have what you set out to do connected to something deeper than just doing it, or deeper than yourself and your emotions, then it's gonna fade, it's gonna fall, it's gonna collapse. If you connect everything you do to God, to your faith, then you can be successful at it. Endure the suffering through the gym, not just to build yourself, but to honor Him. Hebrews 12 says God's discipline those He loves. Why? Because discipline is connected to formation, not rejection, not abandonment, but formation. And you shouldn't see suffering in the gym as punishment, as something that you shouldn't be doing or something that's bad, right? It shows how resistance may be shaping you into who you are meant to become.